Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you got a chance to stop by and just make a card with me. So I have not been posting a lot on my YouTube in a very long time. So I'm glad to be back. This is actually a very simple card that I'm making with some leftover die cuts that I have from a project for a baby. And because I had them, I thought, let me just make a quick shaker card. I have wanted to try out these foam beads that I'm going to be putting in my Etsy shop. So I'm very excited. They're really nice for shakers and really nimble. They move a lot. So it's a fun addition to your card making stash. So right now I have my die cut pieces. I have a heart that is cut out in a 5x5 piece of white cardstock, and I'm putting down some double-sided tape just to adhere the acetate to the front of the card. For me, I like using double-sided tape for my acetate. This is because you don't have to wait on it to dry. The acetate won't shift around and get messy with glue. So double-sided tape is my preference. If you have glue that is quick drying, like a tacky glue, then you can definitely use that. But I haven't had a good experience with glue, so I tend to use double-sided tape. So the acetate piece that I'm using is actually quite small. It's a leftover piece of acetate that I really want to use because I don't want to cut another piece, right? So I found that if I turn it diagonally, it works for me. So that's what I'm going to be doing. It's not a perfect size. If you have acetate that you will be cutting, just ensure that you cut it to the size larger than the window so it will adhere, okay? So it will stick. All right, so for the front of the card, the window that I'll be using is actually a piece of laminate. So you know what you use to laminate photos or signs? That's what I use, but I just run it through my laminator without any paper inside, and it becomes a hard window that I can use for the front of my card. The downside to this is that it's not as clear as acetate, definitely not, and it may have some bubbles that acetate does not. But definitely if you're putting shaker bits behind, if you're ink blending behind the window, it's not going to be very noticeable after you put it on the card. So because of that, I just tend to use it. For me, it's cheaper than getting acetate because acetate is not readily available in Jamaica where I am. So I have to order it online, and sometimes there's a wait time. Makes it very expensive for me to get because I have to pay for it to be cleared. So I tend to just use this laminate, right? And it works for me. So next we are going to apply some foam tape. After pasting down the acetate, we're applying some foam tape. I'm using 3 layers because it's my first time actually using these foam balls. I want there to be enough space for them to move around. So I'm using 3 layers on each side. I'm not going directly around the shape, and that makes it much easier for me because putting foam tape around curves and different shapes can be difficult, or it can just be time consuming. So I'm just putting the foam tape at the 4 corners, and that really works very well. Sometimes if you do it like this, you just have to ensure you put a few more shaker bits because some will fall behind the paper, the part that is covered, right? So just put a little extra so it will fill up the window well, right? So I'm putting 3 on each side, 3 layers, and then I will pour in my shaker bits. Shakers are really fun cards to make, simple, and you have this interactive element that's really fun. So I've always liked making shakers. So it's only fitting that my first video back is a shaker. Really, really fun to make. And definitely because I'm using the foam balls, it's kind of different from sequins and beads and so on. So it's interesting to see what the result will be. All right, so I'm getting my foam balls to pour them in. Now, word of warning, foam balls are very nimble. As I said, it's my first time using this, and when you're opening the package, they can just fly out if you're not careful. They have a mind of their own, so you have to be very careful. See, I put it down and they ran right out. Right, so for the foam balls, I prefer to put them in the well that is formed by the double-sided tape instead of on the card base. Now, when you're making a shaker, you can either put the shaker bits in the well or you can put it on the card base, right? And then put the card front on top. But with foam balls, it's very difficult to get the balls to stay on the paper when you put it on the card base. They're gonna roll off. So it's best to put them in the well and use another piece of paper outside of the card base to secure them into the well before adhering them to the card base. There are ways that you can adhere the card base directly, even if you put the shakers in the well first, but I don't risk that because it might end up being wonky when you put on the card base on top because you're not able to see the alignment. So I put a piece of paper on top, right? So here I'm putting a piece of pattern paper just to seal in all my shaker bits, make sure nothing runs out. And I'm removing the backing from the adhesive, the foam adhesive. And there everything is sealed in. It's shaking, 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 which I love. So one thing I didn't do here is add powder to the sides of the adhesive that would be exposed, and this would help your foam balls not to stick to the sides. There's also some static that is there initially when you put your foam balls in, so some of them will stick to the acetate, but that's okay. It will go away after a while, right? So now I'm just putting some double-sided tape on the back so that I can adhere it to my card front. For me, I know for a lot of people, you decorate your card front before adhering it to the base. I don't tend to do that. Once I have the basic structure of my card front, I will adhere it to the base, and then I add all the embellishments and things like that, right? That's how I like to do it. So I'm just adhering the double-sided tape to the back to make sure that it will stick well to the card. So I'm doing the four corners and the diagonal in the middle just to make sure it sticks well. Okay? Yeah. I don't know why my card is dancing all over the place like that, but that tends to happen sometimes. I think if I use tweezers to do all the removing, then it will be more steady. But I like to use my hands. I just like to use my fingers. So I'm adhering it to the card base now. Pretty simple. You're able to see and line it up, right? Lots of fun little shaker bits in the middle. Okay, so I'm actually going to start putting my foam tape on the back of my little embellishments or my little bear character. And these little embellishments, they were all cut out with my Cricut machine. As I said, they were left over from a project that I did on my Cricut for a baby. So I had them and I was like, oh, these would be cute on a card. So I just did that. They were pretty simple to cut out with the Cricut, and these images are actually available in Design Space. So I will try and link them below, or at least provide the number in the description so that you'll be able to find them if you are interested in using them. So this is a gold foiled sentiment on acetate, and I made this by printing on acetate with toner and just using gold foil and a laminator, right? So I'm just gonna cut that out, trying to decide where I'm gonna put everything on the card. I just love this little jumper. It's very cute. Removing the protective backing from the tape, and I'm going to adhere the jumper now. Okay, so we see the card is coming together. It's a really simple card, but it's really, really cute. Like, I just love the foam balls in the window. It's really different and something I don't see often, so I really like it. And I like the effect. It's very nice. So check out my Etsy if you would be interested in getting some of these foam balls for your own cards. So adhering all these little bits are going to take some time, or is going to take some time. For me, sometimes I don't sketch my cards out, so I really make decisions on the fly. Not really sure what it will end up looking like, but I have a general idea. So, I do things as they come to me sometimes, right? So I'm going to cut two little legs for the bear because it didn't really have any legs in the project I was doing. So I'm going to cut legs and arms and all those little parts to adhere to the card as well. So for the embellishing part, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to end the voiceover here and just allow you to watch the card getting finished up and the final result. Thanks so much for watching.